And I would like to officially welcome you to another season of Are You Well workshops. We're going to kick off today with building financial literacy. We're very excited to have Jill Gable, who's the Director of Student Financial Affairs, with us. So if you would settle in and get ready to begin. So just a little background, if you haven't joined us before, we come to you every month during the school year. We come in twice, the second Wednesday of the month at 12 o'clock, and then the third Wednesday of the month at 6 p.m. We do record the presentations, and they are posted on the wellness website. So at any point, if you want to go back and catch some of the links or the QR codes or just some of the information, it's there for you. What's on your screen is what's coming up. In October, every Wednesday at noon will be a panel on a different mental health topic, and they'll be coming from each of the different locations in the Rush system. So it'd be very interesting for you to join in. There actually are some raffle prizes, including a PTO day, which I think is wonderful. That's what we need around wellness, right? A little bit of our self-kindness. And then we start back in November with uncertainty, and you can read the rest of it about ergonomics, nutrition, perfectionism, sleep, supercharging your brain as you're getting ready to take exams or do final presentations, and then restoring your energy as you're getting ready to go into the summer courses. So I hope that we'll see you each month and that you'll share any of the information you have that you can enrich the talks that we're doing. Every month, we also do a little grounding exercise to kind of get you settled. You've had a busy day, it's late, you might be hungry, maybe you're just settling in, getting home from work or school. So if you wouldn't mind putting down your phone for just a minute, putting your feet flat on the floor, sitting up in your chair, hands on your lap, and just be able to roll your shoulders using your shoulder blades. So you kind of get those shoulders down. Take 3 deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. And those will bring down the cortisol level in your brain, so that will actually calm. If you've had a really hectic day and you've just been charging through, you put your hand over your heart. That's an automatic signal to your brain to calm. And those 3 deep breaths will help. And then if you want to add another layer of calmness, find something that's green-gray. So if you look outside during this time, that would be perfect. Your eyes will connect with the blue, that's a thinking color, but your brain will calm with the green-gray. So enjoy this green-gray that we have here. Either soften your eyes looking to the ground or close your eyes and just listen to my voice. So settle in, taking those deep breaths, and think of a person who's been kind to you. Could be a parent, a grandparent, a teacher, a friend, even a beloved pet or partner. Allow yourself to feel this kindness, this warmth. Imagine this person or being gazing at you with understanding, kindness, and compassion. Imagine this person wishing you well, sending you a blessing, possibly saying these words: may you be safe and protected. May you be healthy. May you be held in kindness and compassion. Take 3 deep breaths. And then stretch. So hands out in front of you to round your back. Hands over your head, grab a wrist and pull to one side. Grab the other wrist, pull to the other side. Put your hands behind your back so you're opening up your chest. Take a deep breath. Don't want to sit over our computer like a shrimp. We got to straighten out. And then just shake your arms. All right. So we are here. We are in the moment, being mindful, and we are ready to start. So Jill, I'm going to have you take it away. I'm going to change my so you can share.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you all this evening to talk about this really critical topic. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to get started with a just a very short question to kind of gauge how you're feeling about financial wellness and the amount of stress that it may be presenting for you today. First thing, you are able to go to the website minty.com. There will be a code that it will ask you for. You can enter this code. And if you have a smartphone, you're looking at a screen, you can also utilize the QR code, and it should take you right there. So it looks like we have some responses already. So it looks like so far, people are rating on average that the level of stress is at a 3 when it comes to finances. So not too bad. So that's definitely a good thing. Hopefully it'll be even less once we've had an opportunity to go through this content in the presentation and you think about your future and maybe incorporating some additional tips and tools to be able to help you.
Jill, while they are completing this survey, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit farther so they have a good sense of who they're listening to and who they can talk to help?
Absolutely. So my name is Jill Gable. I'm Director of Student Financial Aid here at Rush University. I have been here at Rush for 6 years. I've been in higher education financial aid for 15 years now. I have earned a couple of master's degrees in both business administration as well as in higher education administration as well. And I'm currently pursuing my doctorate in higher organizational leadership with the emphasis of higher education leadership. So definitely interested in really supporting individuals around their finances and being able to navigate future planning when it comes to finances.
Thank you. We're very happy to have you as our
Thank
guest
you.
today.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here. All right. So it looks like we have received a few responses. So we will go ahead and move into the content of the presentation. Are we good on seeing the PowerPoint at this moment?
Yes.
Great, great. All righty. Well, the objectives for today's session are here on the screen. And the first thing that we're going to talk about is defining financial wellness and what does it mean for each of us. We want to then take the next step and develop awareness of our current situation. Want to then gain knowledge to help improve our financial wellness, and then take a look at some available resources that can help us as we navigate through this journey. So the first thing that we'll talk about is what is financial wellness. It is a very highly personalized state that includes a few elements within each of our lives. Financial wellness generally includes being able to have control over our daily and our monthly finances, being able to absorb unexpected expenses, staying on track to meet our financial goals, and ultimately having the freedom to make the choices to enjoy all of our life. Here we have a chart that talks about some of the present and the future states and things that we want to consider as a part of financial well-being. In the present, in relation to security, we want to have control over our day-to-day and month-to-month finances. In the future, we want to take the things that we learn and help us to have the capacity to absorb any type of financial shock that may come our way. In the present, in relation to the freedom of choice, we want to be able to make choices to enjoy our lives today. In the future, we want to plan so that we can stay on track to meet those financial goals. All of these things combine together and take time to actually build up a good, solid financial planning and well-being definition for each of us as it relates to the highly individualized, personalized state. There are a number of influencers that impact the different present and future states and how we define financial wellness. The first thing may be our social and economic environment. You know, what surrounds us as individuals and in our community, in our workplaces, in our educational environment. Our personalities and our attitudes, how we tend to think, act, and feel in relation to money and decision-making processes. What is our individual decision context? When we're presented with a particular decision, how do we respond? What is our thought process? Further, what knowledge and skills do we have? What do we know, and how can we do it? Those things translate into our behavior. What do we actually do? Underlying all of those things also includes what opportunities are available for us. And then ultimately, all of these things culminate into our personal financial well being and how satisfied are we with our personal financial situation. And can we take any of these components of the influencers and make changes in the individual areas so that we can improve our satisfaction with our financial situation? Okay, so we'll take a moment really briefly and answer the next Minty question that we have here. And just want to think about what is financial wellness and how is it defined? So if you'll take a moment to respond to that question, that would be great.
The code and the site is up at the top of your screen.
Yes, so you go to minty.com. The code is 2890-6938. All right, we got some people talking about staying on track with their expenses, being able to pay their bills on time. So nobody's defining financial wellness as going out to eat tonight. Ah, somebody's ready for dinner. All right. Well, thank you for responding. As you can see, the majority of people are responding that staying on track with their expenses is definitely how they would define financial wellness. So thank you for responding to the questionnaire. All right. Moving on to talking a little bit about financial distress and how do we identify some of these things as we think about our financial wellness as a whole. So one of the first signs that you want to consider when identifying if things are maybe not quite where they need to be is, are you missing payments consistently? Do you have credit cards that you've missed the payment, or a car payment, or other forms of bills that you've maybe missed the payment 1, 2, or 3 months in a row or every so often? That's generally the first sign of financial distress. It means that you have overextended some of your financial resources. If you dip into savings and any retirement benefits, that can also be a sign. Sometimes missing payments and dipping into your savings can get kind of confused with each other because you may dip into savings while you're also missing payments. And so you want to make sure that you're watching for both of these signs. Taking out cash advances on your credit cards is also another key sign that there might be some challenges in your finances that you want to pay close attention to. And ultimately, if you have debt going to collection agencies, that is a for sure sign, one that you want to take a very hard look at your financial situation and identify some tools that you can utilize to help you improve your situation. The next thing on the slide is something called a well-being score. It's just a really cool resource that's available to individual users. You do not have to sign up for an account to utilize the tool. What it will do is it'll ask you a series of questions about how you define your financial well-being, how you think about money, what your comfort level is with different components of your finances. It will provide you with a financial well-being score. It'll also provide you with some additional resources that you can utilize that will be personalized to the responses that you provided to the survey. It'll also provide you with comparison in terms of how you rank in relation to other users and individuals within the United States. And so you can see here, for example, the person that completed this survey was on a scale of 0 to 100. They were at 55. So they were just slightly above the US average. But this will be a very nice tool to kind of help you benchmark where you currently are. And then once you've had opportunity to go through some tools and some resources and maybe improve your situation, to retake this survey to find out where you are at that point in time. The PowerPoint presentation will be shared with you all as well, so that you'll be able to access the links that way. But if you have a smartphone and you'd like to utilize the QR code, it will take you directly there as well. So as we think about financial well-being and our day-to-day finances and our security in the present and the future and being able to manage our resources, the first thing that we want to do is think about what our plan is. And the first step is to identify what financial resources are available to you. And this is traditionally called income, but that word may not work well for everybody. You know, students may have student loans, other forms of support that come from family, friends. You may have a part time job, or there may be other forms of resources. So, the first thing that you want to do is identify all of your financial resources that are available to you, so that you have a good understanding of how much funding is coming in. The next thing that you want to do is then take a look at your expenses. And this is probably one of the most scary parts of building a good financial plan to help you to really improve your definition of financial wellness. But it's also probably one of the most critical parts to building a good financial plan. What you really want to do is you want to take a very careful look at where is your money going? How are you spending your financial resources? A lot of different credit card agencies and banks will offer what's called a spend analyzer. And so you're able to pull that information from those different agencies and take a look at what types of categories you're spending your resources in. You know, are you spending a lot of funding on personal items or groceries or car repair expenses? Or what categories do you have that are you're spending your financial resources in? You can also track those things manually if you would prefer to do so. You can utilize an Excel spreadsheet. Some people prefer to use a document like a checkbook register, an Excel spreadsheet, a Word document. Different ways exist to be able to help you identify where you're spending your funding. There are some resources that are online, so some digital tools if you prefer, like online apps or websites that may be available as well. One of them that I think is really cool is one that's called mint.com. And so you're able to actually link different banking institutions, credit card agencies, bills to this one website. And the information feeds into the central location, and they will provide you with the different categories that you're spending your funding resources in. You're also able to incorporate, your budget, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. But you're able to put all of those pieces of information in there, and it provides you with charts and graphs and recommendations based on where you are financially. As you're working through identifying your different expenses, you want to identify whether your expenses are fixed versus flexible. Fixed expenses are those items that you don't have a lot of control over changing on a month to month basis. And those can be housing, insurance, car payments sometimes, other forms of payments that you have to make that really just you can't change month to month. Flexible expenses are those things that are a little bit more flexible. You can say, hey, I spent $400 in this category. Let me spend $200 instead. And so you have some control in figuring out how to change and impact that expenditure on a month-to-month basis. And those can include items such as food. Sometimes transportation costs can be a part of that as well. One of the biggest pieces of advice that I encourage individuals to utilize as they go through tracking their expenses, and that is to be kind to yourself. This is probably the single hardest step to go through if you've not done this before. And you may find some good surprises, you may find some bad surprises. And so it can be very challenging to really think about those expenses and come face to face with those to be able to identify where you want to change. The next thing that we encourage individuals to do is then take a good in-depth look at all of the debt that you currently have. This includes any credit cards, personal loans, student loans, any type of debt that currently exists. And so what you want to do is you want to make sure that you pull all the information together, including the name of the agency, the total amount that you owe on that debt, what the interest rate is on the debt, the current status, if it's currently, if you're currently making payments, if it's past due and collections. Many of your student loans, depending on where you are, either as a student or or as an employee, they may be in your grace period. You may still be in grace period. They may be deferred because you're actively enrolled in school. They may be deferred because of the COVID pandemic allowances that were provided to borrowers. And so depending on where you are, that status is going to be in any number of places. You also want to make sure you make a note of what is your monthly payment, especially for those amounts that you are needing to pay currently and or past due. You want to also make a note, sometimes you don't always know what your monthly payment will be for your student loans, especially if you're someone who's still actively enrolled in classes, because ultimately that will be set when you graduate, but you're able to estimate some of those as well. So once you have identified all of your financial resources, you've gone through and you've tracked your expenses, and you've identified all of the debt that currently exists under your name, then you want to think about building a spending plan. And a spending plan is very similar to a budget. The goal with the spending plan is you want to identify a category for every single financial resource that you have available to you. So it's the method of distributing your income among the mix of things that you want and that you need. It also specifically includes a savings category. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you have no financial resources left because you've assigned it to a different category and you've made sure that all your needs and wants are met. A spending plan may be based on a specific period of time, such as a month-to-month basis. You may do it on a quarterly basis, depending on when your financial resources may come into you. Then the question becomes are you using all of your financial resources? So, you may take a Word document or an Excel spreadsheet. At the top, you have your total financial resources and how often those are coming in. Then you have your list of your different categories of where what expenses you have and how often those expenses are. At the bottom, how much money is left over? If you have additional resources available, where can you take those funds and utilize them best? Is it best to pay off some debt? Do you need to work on building emergency savings? What's going to work best for your overall finances to help you to be financially well and to feel more comfortable with where you are and where you're going? Here at the bottom, there is also a slide talking about finances a little bit more and how to build a good spending plan. And so, again, this will be at the end you'll have access to it on the slides as well. So once you've really kind of built your plan, the next thing you want to do is really every so often, I recommend on a quarterly basis at least, take a look at your plan. Identify if it's working well for you and if you need to make any changes. You want to access those spending categories. Are you still staying in alignment with where you need to be? You want to make sure that you have a good schedule for paying your bills. Automatic bill payment is amazing for many people because then it takes care of it without you having to do a whole lot of thought. And some people prefer to actually pay each of those expenses because then they're directly involved in managing and assessing their plan on a month-to-month basis. Something that is very important to remember throughout this process is that people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. So when we don't think ahead and we don't outline where we are and where we want to be, we just kind of continue on in the same vein and the thought process that we have been going through. So once you've had an opportunity to really kind of assess where you are and think about where you want to be, you want to think about a debt repayment strategy if you do have debt. Sometimes this debt repayment strategy doesn't always work best for student loan debt, so you may want to have a couple different strategies that you utilize when it comes to consumer debt, which is things like credit cards, private loans, mortgage, those types of things versus a federal student loan. Depending on your future plans with federal student loans, it may or may not work well for you to pay off those things very quickly, depending on loan forgiveness programs that may be available for you. But for those items that are your consumer debt, there's different strategies that you can use. I've outlined 3 different ones that are some of the primary strategies. The first one is a debt snowball strategy. And essentially what this debt will allow you to do is pay off some of your smaller debt first, and then start focusing on the larger debt. This can be very helpful because it allows you to kind of get some quick wins right away. So if you have maybe a credit card that has a $500 balance, for example, once you figure out a good debt snowball strategy, you pay that debt off very quickly. And it's really invigorating and exciting to really accomplish that task. And it helps you to kind of see the next step and how the whole overall plan can work well. The next strategy is a debt avalanche strategy. And so, really, what this one will allow you to do is it allows you to pay off the debt with the highest interest rate first. And this is really good and useful if you have multiple forms of debt and maybe some with really high interest and some with really low interest. Those higher interest rate loans, you may end up paying a whole lot more over time. So, it might benefit you to pay those off quickly. Sometimes that can be a negative because if you have if there are larger debts with the higher interest rates, it kind of feels like you're really kind of running in a circle sometimes. So that's where sometimes it works well to do a debt snowball strategy for a little while and then shift over to a debt avalanche strategy. The last strategy that we provide here is something called debt consolidation. And this allows you to combine multiple debts into a single new form of debt. This is really useful if you have, say, for example, multiple credit cards that have really high interest and you've maxed those out. And it's just very difficult to try to pay down those different credit cards in a quick and efficient manner. And so sometimes it's easiest to close all of those and open a new loan that will allow you to pay off all that, all those credit cards, and then start working on that new debt and kind of reset yourself in a new pathway. The important thing is, if you do something like this, you do not go back and recharge those credit cards. You do not open new credit cards and charge high balances again, because then you'll continue to repeat the same process. So it's important when you utilize debt consolidation that whenever you have underlying debt that you roll up into one single debt, that you don't go back and reuse those credit cards or those debts. There is a debt reduction spreadsheet here that allows you to kind of use some of these different strategies to really come up with a good plan for yourself that will work well. There's also an online debt payoff calculator that's kind of useful. What it allows you to do is enter your multiple forms of debt. How much do you have left on that debt? And what's the interest rate? And what is the minimum payment that you can make? And then it will give you some additional information if you say want to make an extra $50 a month. How is that going to benefit you, and how much quicker can you pay off that debt if you're able to do that? So this is a good online debt calculator that allows you to kind of play with the numbers a little bit and figure out a good game plan as well. So as you think about paying off any type of debt that you may have, really developing a good solid spending plan, you want to start thinking into the future and building your financial security overall. And so you want to think about developing short-term and long-term goals. So short-term goals are those things that you will work to accomplish within 1 year. The long-term goals are those things that will take much longer. There may be 1 to 5 years or even longer, depending on where you are. It is very important to utilize a good goal strategy to help you develop and achieve these goals. So we encourage individuals to use a SMART goal strategy. Think about whether it is SMART, whether it's measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. We also encourage individuals to not develop so many goals that it becomes overwhelming. So focus on 1 to 2 goals for each of the short-term and the long-term goals. So for example, a short-term goal that you may have is to build a $500 emergency fund within 1 year, and that may involve a small amount of resources that you set aside on a month-to-month basis. A long-term goal may be to pay off a $5,000 credit card bill, and that may take you 3 years. And so that could be a long-term goal that you would want to accomplish. You may have 1 or 2 others that you may want to incorporate, but don't get so many of them that they're very difficult to achieve. You want to work on being smart with these goals so that you are able to achieve them, and you're able to achieve them timely. And this is an additional resource that's available about how to set these goals. So really cool resource to kind of walk you through that step. The next thing that we want to talk about is thinking about saving. We want people to make saving your best choice. And, sometimes it's really hard to think about setting aside a set amount of financial resources on a month to month or quarterly basis. But we really encourage individuals, as you're starting to think about what saving means and how it's going to impact you, is to start focus on developing the habit first. And once you have developed the habit of saving and going through that process, you are able to then take it to the next step and start increasing the amount of funding that you are able to set aside for saving. And I think this is also where it links back into your goals and thinking about what are my goals and tying those two pieces together to achieve those particular set of goals that you have. It's also useful to use automated tools. So set up automated savings plans. You may have all of your financial resources being deposited into a checking account. You may also have a savings account. Have every so often some resources set aside to automatically go into the savings account so that you don't have to physically think about it. And then don't touch the savings account. Many of them you can only make so many withdrawals or transfers per month anyway. So it's very useful to be able to kind of help start with that good habit of saving. You want to start small, like I mentioned a moment ago, and then incrementally increase. For example, some retirement plans, and this is, retirement, we're thinking ahead. But some retirement plans, you set it up today and then it'll ask you every year, do you want to incrementally increase by 1% or 2%? And you can just say yes up front. And that way it'll automatically take care of itself so that you don't have to really put a whole lot of effort. You're not having to be faced with that decision on a regular basis. It's already made for you and you know what your goal is. You also want to look for ways to reduce unnecessary expenses over time. As you're going through on a quarterly basis, you're assessing your spending, your budgets, your spending plan, you're looking to say, hey, do I really need this category? Do I need to keep spending this amount of money on this particular item? Or can I do something differently to allow me to save extra funds? And sometimes, we think about those day-to-day costs and those savings, on a day-to-day basis, it may be $2 to $4. But when you really start adding up on a month-to-month basis, if you spend a few dollars, save a few dollars every day, even if it's $2 a day, that's $60 a month, right? And so over time, you can start to see how that could build up. As a student borrower, if you think about saving $2,500 less per year, you save $10,000 over a 4-year period of enrollment out the gate, but ultimately you're saving $13,000 because you're saving on interest and principal that you don't have to borrow. So it seems like a little small amount, $2,500 a year comes to a small amount of money on a day-to-day basis. But it is very useful to being able to borrow less over time and then also to increase your savings. Okay, so these are some additional financial resources that are available to individuals here at Rush. The first one is the Office of Student Financial Aid, which is the department in which I work. We do assist students with paperwork and disbursement authorizations, emergency expenses, budgeting questions, a whole host of variety of expenses. We also offer different presentations to our campus community as well. You also have the Student Business Office, and they help individuals with questions about their billing statement, their tuition, their health insurance charges, their health insurance waivers, those types of resources as well. All right, so next we also will take a moment. We have a couple of questions on our Menti that I would like to get your responses on, and then I'll be able to speak to the questions that are in the chat as well here in just a second. So I'm going to go ahead and get the Menti pulled back up. And just to ask you again to provide your response in terms of rating the stress that you feel about finances now. We thought about this in the beginning. You said, hey, I'm here. I need some, I'm a little stressed. I'm not so stressed. So where are you today? And hopefully you'll feel better about some of the resources that are available to you through this process. we'll give you just a moment to be able to respond to those questions.
And Jill, is it true that highly stressed is a lower number than not stressed?
Yes, it's supposed to be the opposite. Yes. And then the question that there was about the use of the survey for the wellness survey. There is no cost that is available publicly to consumers, and there's no obligation to utilize any of the resources that are out there. That's a free resource provided by the Consumer Protection Bureau for consumers to utilize to help them advance in their finances and their financial well-being. All right. So the next question is, what additional financial topics would you like to hear more about? We're interested in learning more about what topics are important to you, and what types of presentations or sessions would you like to hear more about? Retirement, that's always a big one. Absolutely. Long-term planning. Are there additional topics that you're interested in hearing about in relation to finances? For those of you who put in student loans, are you looking for student loan repayment information? Or are you looking for just general information about the loans in general? Long-term planning, absolutely. All right, we'll give it just a second more. And then someone indicated that they would like to hear more about children. I'm assuming that is saving for children's maybe education or future expenses. All right, moving on to the next and final question that we have on the survey is, how likely are you to recommend this presentation to a friend? And we certainly appreciate that you're willing to recommend. That certainly helps us to know that the information provided is a useful resource, and we will certainly make sure that it is shared. All righty. So we will move back to the presentation. There are some additional resources that are available. So I've shared a number of these on this slide and a couple of other slides. One of the biggest resources that I wanted to share is Capital One has a program that they call Money and Life. And this is available to anyone, regardless of whether you're a Capital One customer or not. So this is really cool initiative. They offer three free 60-minute sessions where you have an opportunity to talk with a financial expert about your money goals, your future planning goals. And it's just really, they delve into what your thought process is in relation to money and how you see it and where you want to be, to help you figure out goals. They're not going to tell you what to do necessarily, but they're going to walk you through those tools and those tips to be able to achieve what you're looking to achieve. The next financial resource is something called GreenPath Financial Wellness. They have a number of different resources, including calculators, blogs. They have housing and credit counseling. So if you're a first-time home buyer, they provide you with a number of resources that are available there as well. They also host different webinars that are accessible to the public. So it's a really cool set of resources available. If you're interested in different types of loan forgiveness programs, we have a couple of different links here. One is through FinAid, talks about different state and federal forgiveness programs. There's also a number of resources through the AAMC of different forgiveness programs across the United States and different states. And then the federal student loan program, loan forgiveness as well. A lot of times when we do this session, we also get a number of questions about renting versus buying. And so I've provided a couple of calculators and resources to kind of help you figure out what's going to be the best option for you as an individual. And with that, I will turn it back over to Judy for the next set of announcements.
Thank you so much, Jill. That was so informative, and I'm so glad that we will have this on. We will keep this as something you can access, because I think there's so many good things that we really do need to be able to review them again. All right, and so continuing on with the resources, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what's happening over in the Wellness Center. I am the wellness liaison, and my name is Judy Fredericks, and I will be coming to you every month to have a different topic. The actual Wellness Center is over in the Triangle Building, and it is on the first floor. It's a beautiful small space brought to you by Philanthropic Dollars, who thought that our programming was so valuable that they wanted us in a physical space. So there actually is a nice physical space. It includes counseling, coaching, and our energy pod. And the energy pod is something you actually do make an appointment for. So just like you'd make an appointment with a counselor, you'd make an appointment for the pod. It's a 7-minute walk across the street. And the thing I want to call to your attention on this slide is that all these services are free to students, house staff, and employees. There is no session cap. So if you come over because you're a little bit overwhelmed with the financial things and that stuff gets settled for you, but then you think, okay, I've got a big project coming up. I need help with prioritizing. I need help with organization. I need help with anxiety, any of those things, that you can keep coming back. There is no session cap. We do want to see you. The office itself is open from 7 to 7 Monday through Friday. It is in person and telehealth. So for those of you who work 12-hour shifts or work and go to school as well, you will be able to do that from home or from somewhere else at your leisure. So that's kind of a nice option. If you did go to the website, which I would really encourage you to do, because you could kind of give that to yourself as a self-kindness moment and just really look to see what's at the website, that you would be able to see that you can make your own appointments, that you could look at all the wellness newsletters. One just came out today, so you can take a look in your email, or you can find them here. We have them all listed. Any of the events that we have recorded will also be on the site, so that you'll be able to come back and take a look at that. So it is just a good thing for you to be able to come back and do. There has been a lot of thought about confidentiality, so that you feel competent and confident to come to the Wellness Center or use the online option. So from the design to the documentation to the scheduling, all of that has been thought about with your confidentiality. Now, what I've been talking to you about is what's on the left side of your screen, Monday through Friday, 7 to 7, online scheduling, unlimited free sessions, which is amazing. That's a great benefit to have. We also have a contract with CompPsych, which is an outside agency that works as our employee and student assistance program if you don't want to use a rush provider. That they do phone scheduling, they offer free sessions, ×5 before they move to a long-term provider. But the unique part about this is that they are available to an immediate family member or significant other. So between the two options, that's pretty amazing benefits. Now, if you can't get an appointment and you are just not feeling okay, you're very settled, very unsettled, very anxious, you're just having a moment that you just can't stop thinking about something and you're not sure what to do, please use the 24/7 pager. A pager is 85-2323. It's responded to within an hour, and you will be talking to a psychotherapist from our department. So that is a really wonderful benefit. They will talk to you about what you need in the moment and get you help right then, or they will also talk about in the future what other things that you might use to help with whatever's going on. So even if you make the call and they answer it usually within 10 minutes, it's not usually an hour, and you say, well, I'm not sure if this is the right place to call, you're at the right place. Because if you've had a thought about things, it's important that you follow up on it, and good for you for doing that. Same thing with anyone who is a colleague or a friend of yours that's feeling very unsettled. This would be a very good thing to do as well. And like I mentioned before, the Employee and Student Assistance Program, same thing. You can call, you can go on our website and get the same information. All of this is available to you on the website. We do also have another thing that we wanted to tell you about. That did you know, by being a student or an employee at Rush, you kind of have dibs on doctor appointments, things like that, and you can help your patients get in a little bit quicker. So if you use this facilitated access, this is kind of a nice thing to know about. It's 94 staff, STAFF, and that will help you get into clinical services faster. So that's amazing. So between the 852323 pager for your mental health, we also have the 94 staff, STAFF, for your physical health. Great options, great benefits here at Rush. Right. And just a couple of the programs, again, you'll find all of them on the website. And we always do wellness talks, whether in your department, in your group, your team, or here at Rush University. Insight Timer is another benefit for you. So if you go to Insight Timer at work, or you go to the website, you'll be able to find the link to Insight Timer. And it's like the Calm app, if you've done that before. It's wonderful because it can get you started in the morning with just a breathing or a relaxation. It can help you during lunch or a break, maybe on your way home. You might like to listen to something, or before bed, kind of get you settled, right? We do offer mental health first aid. So if that's ever something that you would like to become a mental health first aider, it's offered once a month on a Saturdays, and it's online. So it's a definite good resource to kind of have in your back pocket. It's kind of like CPR for your mental health. And it's a nice thing to be able to take that. At this point, it is free. So anyone thinking about that certification, I think that would be a good thing to take on. For nurses and physicians, we have a coaching program. So this is for your career. And this is definitely something that will help you develop leadership skills, increase your resilience, and it's something that you would sign up to do. So you can go on the website and be able to do that. Another thing that we have available is the Nursing Wellness Peer Support Program. And you could either volunteer to be a peer supporter, or you can access the peer support system to be able to talk to somebody for a half hour, to be able to have a good listener that will kind of help work you through what's going on. They already have their mental health first aid certification. And if it is something that's beyond their scope, that they then will refer you over to the psychotherapist in the wellness center. So it's a really good first step, right? So every time we come to you, we will talk about a different part of your own well-being. And our hope is today we talked about finances, and maybe that's a little bit about stress management and be able to take control over what might be a worry for you, and to be able to have that managed in front of you. And so definitely be able to think about different ways that Rush can support your sense of meaning and well-being. Self-kindness is so important. The ability to sleep, to exercise, to eat well, and then to repeat does give you a sense that you're in control and things are not so uncertain for you. You do establish a sense of safety as you go through some of these topics with some of the tips that we give you. And please use the calming techniques when you first wake up in the morning and when you get ready to go to bed, to put away the phone, turn off the blue screen, and to be able to relax a little bit without the blue of the thinking, that blue color very much about thinking, and to be able to relax a little bit. All right. I do want to check in the chat before we end. All right. Right, and
So
think
I did want to clarify on the QR code, it was not working properly, so I do apologize for that. It worked last week. The link for the survey, I dropped it in the chat. It's also in the PowerPoint, so you can actually go directly to the survey itself. It's free of charge. You don't even have to put your information in to get your results initially, unless you want additional follow-up. So I did drop that in there.
I
And if
Right.
there's any additional questions that anyone may have about finances and financial well-being, I'm always happy to take those. Or you're welcome to reach out to me as well directly. Always happy to chat one-on-one as well.
Daniel, did you have a question? All right, well, we are coming to you from the Wellness Center and we appreciate your time today. Hopefully
Judy,
it has.
the question was put into the chat for the pager. Can we text to that number?
Yes, yes, it can also be an online text, yes. Just as if you were paging in the hospital.
Well, no, I'm asking, can I text from my cell phone? Because I don't have a page. I'm not like a medical professional, I'm a student, so.
Right, if you call the hospital operator and ask them to page 2323, they'll do that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. Thank you, Judy.
Yeah, good question.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Jill.
Thanks for asking us. All right, on behalf of Jill and myself and the Wellness Center, hopefully we will see you next month. And in the meantime, be well.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.